Welcome to Coach's Corner, everybody. I'm your host, Coach Paul Tripoli, here with a friend of mine in Pensacola that I met. He's played at Bama, played football and baseball at Alabama a little bit before me. Robin Cary. Robin, thanks for joining the show today. We're going to have a blast.
Well, I appreciate it, buddy. I really do. We've got a lot in common. A lot in common.
Yes, we do. We both played safety. You grew up in Greenwood, South Carolina. I want you to talk about growing up in Greenwood and talk about your older brother, God rest his soul, your brother Jeff. What a great athlete he was. And the older brother dynamic, which I think is really critical for younger brothers to play with people like that.
Well, Jeff was my younger brother. And
your younger brother?
Yeah, he's my younger brother. And but a tremendous athlete. Matter of fact, he's ambidextrous. He played pro baseball. In high school at Greenwood, he'd roll out to the left and throw his left hand, roll out to the right, throw his right. He had them all jumping.
Is he a switch hitter too? Switch hit?
No, he's just a thrower. He never tried switch hitting, but if he tried it, he was good at it.
Well, talk about growing up in Greenwood and your high school, Greenwood High School. You obviously played multiple sports. Talk about the sports that you played and in what position did you play in baseball and football there?
Baseball, I played shortstop. Football, I was quarterback. We moved up there because of Monsanto Corporation. Mm-hmm. My father in Greenwood was a cotton mill town, had 8 cotton mills in it. And what it was, Monsanto sent 1,500 people up there to open up a new plant. Mm-hmm. They were trying to blend the nylon with the cotton. Mm-hmm. And we were sent up here and it was how old
were you when you went up there?
12.
Okay. So you grew up, you grew up in the South and then went up to Greenwood to go middle school and high school.
Yeah, well, yeah. In fact, I was playing baseball on the varsity baseball team when I was in the 8th grade. And I was, I'd go at practice, I'd get on a school bus and go to the high school, which was about 1.5 miles away, to go to practice every day from the junior high school, north side.
So you're always playing with older, bigger, faster, stronger kids.
Yeah.
Talk about your Hall of Fame high school coach, J.W. Pinky Babb.
Well, Coach Babb, he was a tremendous man, and he did everything fundamentally sound. I remember you could make a touchdown and you thought you were doing all the right things, but he would find something that you weren't doing correct. It just made you a better person and a better player because you wouldn't make those mistakes again. But he was very, very well thought of all around the lower south or southeast high schools.
I was lucky as well to have a Hall of Fame coach. George O'Leary is my high school coach. But I think it was a much bigger jump. Even though we had Hall of Fame high school coaches, it was a huge jump from me from high school to college than it was from college to pros. You took a different path. You went to Marion Institute. I played on the JV football team at Alabama for 3 years. So I played against Marion Institute for 3 years. Yeah. Talk about how you went to Marion Institute and how the heck did you get to Alabama after a year at Marion?
Well, originally I'd signed with Alabama and I'd messed up on the ACT test to get into Alabama. Mm-hmm. You had to have it 17. Right. In fact, when I had to take the ACT test, it was the day after our senior prom the morning, and I had to drive to Clemson, South Carolina, to take the test. And while I was taking the test, all the schools that had been recruiting me, they knew it. There was some coaches from Clemson. There was coaches from Georgia. There was coaches from Tennessee. And they wanted to make sure Robin Cary was sitting where he's supposed to.
Unfortunately, the few hours of sleep did not probably help you in the test.
No, it's not. I didn't make the required 17 to go to Alabama, but I had the required. Everybody else was taking the SAT. But anyway, so I came up, and when I got the score from for the ACT, next thing I know, I'm opening seeing, knew I didn't make it high enough. So phone couldn't ring. 2 minutes later, it was Coach Bryant. He told me, this is what you're going to do. He said, you're going to Marion Institute, and you're going to go, and you're going to go 1 year. You're going to play football and baseball, and then you're coming up here. You'll be redshirted.
Wow. That was your one-on-one meeting, your motivation, all you needed to go to school and go to class and get the grades and play. So you played football and baseball. Did you play defensive back at Marion, or did you play
I played quarterback and defensive back at Marion.
Was that your first time playing DB?
Yeah.
Wow. What was that transition?
Yeah, I played DB on the football team, and then if we got on offense, I was playing quarterback. So I'll tell you what, it was a lot of it. A little story about that. I had to get up. We had to get up every morning a little before 6 and out to salute the flag. And all my guys in the company that I was in, they'd look down at me and they'd say, I wonder, I bet you all the guys in Bryant Hall are doing this right now. They worked on me good.
They did. Well, it was the discipline you needed. And then you went to Alabama, and talk about how that struggle was, because it's not you don't play right away at Alabama back in the day. You have to earn your stripes. Talk about that struggle, and talk about your meetings with Coach Bryant on playing two sports.
Well, it was part of the agreement on with my scholarship. I was there on a football scholarship, but if I could make the baseball team, I could play baseball. Mm-hmm. And because Coach Bryant said he'd rather have me out there during the spring, but practicing football, but he knew that more than likely my future would be in baseball.
Right.
So that's why he let me do it.
Is that the same? We're going to have Butch Hobson on, and I can't wait to have his dad, Clell, the oldest living quarterback in Alabama football history. Can't wait to hear his stories. But that's the kind of what he told Butch, and Coach Bryant didn't mince words. You're a better baseball player, and Coach Bryant was right. Let's talk a little bit about that. Coach Bryant loved baseball, loved it. I told the story last week about him picking up Babe Pirelli, and then him and Carney Lansley, the assistant coach, taking a limo to Pittsburgh Forest Field and taking him to a baseball game, then driving to Tuscaloosa for about a 36-hour trip. But talk about, because he went to visit Butch when he was in Boston quite a bit too, Coach Bryant.
Oh, yeah.
Did you talk to him at all about baseball?
Well, yeah, quite a bit. And matter of fact, when the baseballs was having the playoffs, when we were practicing football, and a lot of times I would go over to his house, and we'd watch the playoff games together. And he'd ask me, well, why is this manager doing this? Why are they doing that? He wanted to know all the fundamentals and why they did it and how they did it.
Well, you went over to Coach Bryant's house to watch baseball games with him?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. Holy cow. So he wanted to know the ins and outs, the little bits, right? The little things that made baseball go. Well, the great Vince Lombardi once said in one of his books, said football is as much action as it, or much situation as it is action. Well, the only sport that I can think of that may be more than football is baseball. I mean, there's situations that come up that you have to cover mentally, maybe more than football.
Well, and I don't want to get away from anything, but just like my situation, I go and ask Coach Bryant for different things. It's going to be anytime I ever went in there, and wasn't just me. It was not this, when you go to leave, it's not this, well, if this happens or that happens, well, we'll see here. You knew yes or no when you walked out that door.
Oh man, so true, so true. Let's talk a little bit about Butch Hobson. He played football and baseball at Bama. Was he your teammate, and were you the only two dual athletes, or was there one or two more?
Well, there was Paul Spivey. He also played, and he was a running back and a good one. And then Glenn Woodruff. Glenn, he was a quarterback. He went the Marion route, but he played football and baseball. He caught on the baseball team, and he was tight end on the football team.
All right. Robin, who is the greatest two-sport athlete that you have ever seen? Was it like Deion Sanders? Bo Jackson was the best that I ever played against, but I vote for Wathohawk, Jim Thorpe, the great Jim Thorpe, with a DB award in the NFL, or the NFL, the best DB is named after
Ray Guy. He played with Southern Miss. He played football. He was on their basketball team.
Oh my gosh!
And he played on the football team. And what they would do whenever we would play them in baseball, they'd wait. We always played a double hitter. They would wait until the second game when it was twilight, and he was a pitcher, and he could throw it 90 plus every pitch.
Wow, what a unique answer. Ray Guy, the Hall of Fame. I think the only punter in the Hall of Fame.
He is.
Ray Guy.
He is.
Great Oakland Raider and Kenny Stabler teammate.
Well, I tell you what, he did, but he was also offered a baseball contract. Pitching.
Oh my gosh, so he's a three-sport athlete. He was great in all three sports.
Yeah.
All right, that may take it, but I'm sticking with Wathohawk. I'm sticking with Jim Thorpe, the defensive back.
I think you got a good one there.
Come on, man. The defensive back is the hardest position on the field. Let's face it, man. They're coming forward full speed and knowing where they go. You're going backwards and don't know where they go. And I used to tell my defensive backs that you carry a lot of responsibility on the field, because one slip, one misstep, and it's 6 points for the other team. That's right. Not the case for every other position. So you got a big responsibility. All right. Let's see. Talk about your some of your teammates. You had Bob Baumhauer, Tony Nathan, Dwight Stevens, Richard Todd, Sylvester Kroom. Talk about the reunion that you guys had, 40-year reunion a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, we had a couple of them. Richard Todd was there. Sly Kroom was there. Baumhauer was there. He's at all of them. But we had over 70 guys and coaches there. And we were in the A Club room that's in the Coliseum, and they let the rest of the guys that had lettered and all, they came in there, and we ended up having over 700 players and coaches in the A Club room at about 4:45 that afternoon.
My goodness, from the 1973 championship team that carried, oh my gosh, that's 40 years ago, and you had that many people in there. That's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. Wow. Yeah, Coach Kroom, John Croyle, is he a teammate of yours? The
Yeah,
great John
John. In
Croyle?
fact, John was there. Paul Spivey was there. Richard Todd, we mentioned. Gary Rutledge was there.
Yeah.
Jack O'Rear. You name it, they were there.
Gosh, Tony Nathan, John Croyle was one of Coach Bryant's favorite people for what he did with
Great
his
guy.
life and
Great guy.
how other centered he is. How many lives did that kid enrich and save in his life with his boys ranch? Coach Bryant, I think, invested early in that.
And I was talking with John, matter of fact, and we were talking about that. And Brody Croyle, he's running it now. Brody is in up there, and he's taking over. Now John's going and helping him, but Brody, John was very proud of that.
Talk about the boys ranch a little bit, Robin. Let the people know what he does there.
Well, kids that come from a bad family, I'm talking about their parents, drugs, anything, might have been a little bit with the juvenile delinquency route.
Mm-hmm. Any abusive kid he takes in.
They do everything. The kid comes in there and they do everything, and I mean completely turn them around. And don't just, when they get out, leave them alone. They continue on. And John, they still help them out, but they let them help themselves out because they want to.
What an amazing God blessing thing that he does, man. It's all spiritual based, and he saves hundreds of lives. I just can't think of anybody else except for Mark Merrow. They both are angels on earth. Mark Merrow and John Croyle. Our hats are off to you. All right, let's talk a little about the safety position, Rob. I'm going to mention some of the benefits or some of the characteristics of a great safety, since we were both safeties, and I coached for 20 years. You coached as well. Safety has to have good feet. He has to be quick like a cornerback because he has to cover men wide outs, man to man. He lines up all over the field more than any other player on the defense. He could be at the line of scrimmage. He could be 5 yards off the ball. He could be 12 yards off the ball. He could be rushing. He could be blitzing. Safety has deep coverage a lot of the time, so he has half the field sometimes deep. There's a lot of responsibility, and the safety usually makes the defensive calls in the huddle and get everybody, all four DBs, on the same page. And not only that, you have to let the linebackers know what the coverage is as well. So you're communicating that safety is to 7 people.
Well, and one thing that you have to do, and that's one thing, Coach Bill Oliver, I was very lucky to have Coach Oliver as coach, as well as Curly Holman. Curly Holman was graduate assistant there. Wow. Curly, I mean, he's one of the best. And but recognition, you have got to have recognition, and when you see something, you don't think about it, you react.
Right, exactly. Don't hesitate. Yeah, you got to make it second nature. Great. Yes. Safety has to be football smart and communicate. They make all the calls. They actually have to be one of the smartest DBs out there, so they know all 4 positions. They use colors. They use hand signals to represent the coverage. One could be, just a fist up, cover red, cover 3. Each coach uses different hand signals, and that's been a big thing about stealing signals. So a safety has to be smart in the ability to recognize, like you said, recognize what's happening and then communicate it instantly before anybody else on the field.
Well, one thing, and you talk about the signals and everything and yell out. We were playing Georgia, and I'd remember Georgia had a fullback named Robert Honeycutt. I hope he sees this. And he was at Wade Hampton High School in Greenville, which was one of our people that we played against. And I noticed that he got in a certain stance at fullback, and they were going to throw another stance in fullback, and they were going to run. So we used that because sure enough, he showed it in all the film. You know that about the film. He showed it in there, and we had the linebackers coming up there. If he got in that one where they were going to run, he'd check off to deer. And then if he saw him where he was in that other one, knew they were going to pass.
Eagle.
All of a sudden, it was foul. So there ain't no telling what they would have called.
But it goes on every week in every football game, every single level, every single year for decades. What are they talking about stealing signs? Come on, man.
I thought that was part of it.
Gosh, how about Coach Bryant? They would go to great lengths. Before I move on to another safety characteristics, coaches would go through to great lengths to have their secrets. You were there when Coach Bryant, you got beat in Birmingham when Stan the Bam Cunningham came and ran all over Bama. And then Coach Bryant went to see Darrell Royal in Texas and learned to do the wishbone and committed to it because he learned to adapt or die, and he was going to adapt. That's one great characteristic about him that we've all learned. So, and then he brings that wishbone out and he kept it secret. How secret was it? That and the white hats. Talk about the white helmets.
Well, what he did, there were apartments across the street from the practice field. They completely rented every apartment there because he didn't want anybody to know that we were running the wishbone. In fact, when the news writers, they used to fly around and they would be there a certain day. Well, we'd been running out of the I formation, and when they came to practice, we were running out of the I formation again for them. And they come out, they Bama's doing the same thing. They're running this out of the I. Well, we were keeping it completely quiet. They came up, and it was unreal, but there was these white helmets. And we had never worn white helmets. I was a sophomore in our first game, but we had the white helmets on. White helmets. Well, Southern Cal, they had the red helmets also. And what Coach Bryant, the reason we had the white helmets was because even though we run the wishbone, you don't throw a lot out of it. He wanted the quarterbacks to know where his receivers were.
Yeah, that's smart.
They were the only. We were the only.
That sometimes
we were the only ones with white helmets on, and Southern Cal had that. In Southern Cal, we had 17 points on them before they knew what was going on, and the coaches and the players were fighting on the sideline over there, and nobody knew what was going on. And we had to hang on to win the game, but we still.
Man, you guys ran the wishbone. They had no idea how to cover the wishbone. If you don't practice, even if you practice it, you're not going up against
You're exactly right. You're exactly right.
That was brilliant. That was brilliant. All right, let's go on to the next characteristic of a great safety. He has to have great eyes and vision. He needs good peripheral vision. See things without actually looking at them. People don't realize it, but when you're looking at something, you can see everything peripherally. And you can also see color, speed, light, other things peripherally. And I've known some players that could see, 20 feet away peripherally, and some other players that could see 60 feet away. So I think vision, and I actually played golf with Joe Cribbs, a great Auburn running back last year. And we talked about how important vision was. We thought it was one of the most important characteristics of a defensive back and a running back.
Well, and that's going back to the baseball. You have that good vision and peripheral vision. It helps you see the ball a lot better. Mm-hmm. It gets there in a hurry, so you better be able to go with it. And then there, on the other hand, if it comes off of a bat, it gives you an angle that you got to go, because you can't wait one step,
right?
Or it's by you.
All right, let's talk about safety. He has to have great hands. Good ball skills enable safeties to break up the passes and get interceptions. Actually, Coach Saban once said the most important characteristic of a defensive back is how well he high points the ball. He has the potential to make game-changing plays. And we learned from Coach Bryant that there are only 7 to 8 big plays in every game. And I was lucky enough in my first game in the NFL, I caused 4 turnovers, got 2 picks, a fumble, TD, pick 6. It was because I'm blessed with good vision. And, I think that's one of the most underappreciated or undervalued aspects of a defensive back.
Oh yeah, you got to have it. If you don't, you might as well be a linebacker or a down lineman.
You get closer to line of scrimmage. The athletics are getting worse, less and less. All right. So, Robin, that brings us to the last characteristic of a great safety, his ability to tackle. A good tackler possesses another subset, actually, of qualities. Doesn't matter whether it's Pop Warner, middle school, college, or pro. There exists a different degree of physicality. There's big hitters, and they're not a dime a dozen. It's the guys that'll take off somebody's head. But good tackling also requires technique. For instance, when a safety comes up on a running back in the open field, he has to use one technique as opposed to the running back onto the sidelines. You have to use a whole nother tackling technique. So it's critically important for a safety, because he plays linebacker sometimes, to be a great tackler. And I always believed in tackling low, hard and low outside, because I see it in games today in college. I see it in the NFL. What are the DBs doing? Grabbing guys up here. They just stiff arm them, or they push them away, or they get an extra 5 to 10 yards. You go hard for the low outside leg, and momentum will take you down.
Well, they Coach Oliver told us real quick. There's one person out there that has never missed a tackle, and that's the sideline. Use that sideline anytime you get anything. You get them out on that sideline, and they never missed a tackle. And he was exactly right. But you're right. You don't have any time to do anything, but you know that you're the last person that's got to get that down, or they're scoring, and you don't want to be that last person. So you better make sure you do the job and get it done, or you won't be out there the next time you have a choice.
No, they would. No, they don't. They don't play out there. If you don't grade real high, that's why, like, the first couple of games, I played for Coach Bryant. I was really worried about my grade, man, and make sure I was going to ever get in again.
Well, and a lot of times I've seen. I know you have the same thing. You might get a little nick. Somebody gets a little nick and they get hurt just a little bit, and they think it's funny to be out during practice for a couple of days, and and it's just a little. There's no nothing. But I've seen them where they were on first. They were on first team. Next thing you know, they get back out there. They're on third team, because guys that were behind them, they're just as good as, if not better, and they're just waiting on their chance.
Well, there's a saying in the NFL: your ability is tied to your availability. So how available are you to play? That's a big saying up there. So, in conclusion, Robin, a safety, right, like a hybrid, right? Cornerback, linebacker. I think he's the most athletic player on the defense, because he has multiple roles. He has to play the run and tackle. He has to play the pass and cover. He has to be quick, smart, with great hands. And he has to be willing to sacrifice his body for the big hit, for the good of the team. And so I hope everybody has I just got done reading Jim Thorpe's book, A Path Lit by Lightning, written by David Moranis. So if you want to really get into Jim Thorpe's entire life, read that book. What an athlete he was.
Oh,
And,
tremendous.
Yeah, what a fun time I had, Robin. Thank you so much for joining me. It was
my
a great
pleasure.
time. We had
My
so
pleasure,
much.
Paul.
Yeah, we had so much fun. Maybe I'll see you down in Seville. Maybe I'll see you down. Hey, roll tide.
Well, they got it going down there, and I tell you what, I know a lot of people. All of them go there.
Yeah, they're all good people down there. So say hi to Seville, and we'll see you down there hopefully soon, Robin. Take care.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Paul.
Hey, bud. Wow, that was great. Robin Cary, great two-sport star at Alabama. Wish we had time to get into, but we'll have him on again, and we'll talk some more game stories and so forth. But hey, everybody, thanks for watching the show. I really appreciate it. Stay tuned for these important messages. We're always trying to improve Coach's Corner. Improvements are coming soon. Have a great sports weekend. Roll Tide!
There's a reason why Hill Kelly in Pensacola is the #1 selling Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer between Jacksonville and New Orleans. While other dealers have taken advantage of a competitive market with higher prices, Hill Kelly has discounted prices to the lowest of the year. And Hill Kelly in Pensacola won't surprise you with excessive charges beyond the selling price. Come see why people from Milton, Pace, Foley, Bay Minette, Daphne, Gulf Shores, Mobile, and beyond are driving to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to buy their next new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram. At Hill Kelly, the bottom line price and your satisfaction are what really matter. So before you sign, check the bottom line and make the trip to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to see what true local ownership can do for you. At Hill Kelly Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Highway 29 in Car City, Pensacola. Or shop online 24/7 at hillkellydodge.com. When it comes to bottom line pricing, nobody beats a Hill Kelly deal. Nobody.
Bill, some game, huh?
I haven't really noticed, Paul.
What? The biggest game of the year?
I've been looking over my insurance. Talk about problems I'm trying to figure out.
Well, do what I did. Call the Seiler Agency. They showed me what I needed and what I didn't. They even saved me money. Now, instead of worrying about my insurance, I can worry about the big game.
Contact the Seiler Agency at 476-7443 for all of your insurance needs. Your independent agent for home, auto, boat, RV, commercial, general liability, life, and sound investment strategies. Call 476-7443 today.
75 years of service and high tech today. It's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348. High tech is a term often applied to advanced services and products in today's marketplace. And today, glass is much more than the simple painted brittle, see-through stuff we hit baseballs through when we were kids. Glass is now a product with unique flexibility in both performance and application. And Pensacola Glass Company is growing right along. That's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348.
Did you know there's a place where you can get good neighbor service and surprisingly great rates on your home and auto insurance? Yep, and that place is, ta-da, State Farm. Here's the deal. State Farm agent Will Rentschler is your go-to agent in Pensacola, Florida for the service you deserve at the price that you want. So stop shopping around. State Farm agent Will Rentschler has you covered. Call 850-433-4678 for your surprisingly great rates today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Legal disclaimer, individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
Step One works so hard to get you in the perfect car.
Looking for a better car buying experience? With the Step One Advantage from Buick GMC, Fort Walton Beach, and Pensacola, receive no-hassle market-based pricing or incentives by pre-ordering. Looking to sell or trade? Our dedicated team will even come to you. Plus, every vehicle sold at Step One supports local charities right in your neighborhood. Experience the Step One Advantage at Buick GMC, Fort Walton Beach, and Pensacola.